Game developers, we've got to talk. If you guys have been following the landscape throughout the past, like, 4 years, games have been kind of garbage. Not gonna lie. But there is this one game developer who gives me hope. Game development studio that gives me hope. Like, they're actually doing it right in terms of communicating and setting expectations. And that's what I want to talk about today, and why these other game development studios need to kind of take some notes. Let's get into it. What is going on, guys? My name is TDefton. I'm a developer by day and a gamer by night. If you guys like development, gaming, or both, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Let's get into it. Game development, like, what's been happening, man? We've had letdown after letdown after letdown. Anthem, Cyberpunk 2077, Fallout 76. Like, the list goes on and on and on. Even like some of these other games that were supposed to be these huge things, these huge deals, they kind of turned out being not really all that special, all that great. Borderlands 3. I thought Borderlands 3 was gonna be amazing. I loved Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 was superb. Borderlands 3 was not. One of the main problems that all of these game development studios have is communication. They don't communicate very well with their audience. And this one game development studio is miles, leagues, waves ahead of all of these other game development studios in terms of communication because of the shows that they produce, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's talk about what these other game development studios do. They usually have one show, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, something along those lines, where they talk about game development, but usually along those, like, during those shows, they talk about a bunch of other things. They talk about the community, they talk about, you know, art that's been submitted, they talk about contests that they're doing, they talk about all these different things. The fluff, you know what I'm saying? This game development studio doesn't really do that. And the game development studio is Star Citizen. Star Citizen's game development studio, CIG. Hey. I just want you to do something real quick. Before the video continues, I just want you to do something real quick. Go follow the Twitch channel, Twitch TV/TDefton. If you guys don't know, I have a Twitch channel. Head over there, the community is great, we'd love to have you. We play a variety of games, from horror games to indie games to Apex to whatever. We play a bunch of different games over there. We have a blast of a time every single time we stream. Head over there whenever you can. But that's not the focus of today's video. Let's get back to it. Cloud Imperium Games, they do it so much better than all these other studios in terms of communicating. What they do is they have 3 main shows as of right now, and things have changed throughout the years, but as of right now, it's 3 main shows. They have Inside Star Citizen, they have Calling All Devs, and they also have Star Citizen Live. Star Citizen Live is about an hour long usually. Sometimes it goes a little bit over, sometimes it's just a tad bit less, but never usually less than 55 minutes. Calling All Devs is around 30 minutes each time, so you get a lot of content there. And then Inside Star Citizen is usually somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. Star Citizen Live and Inside Star Citizen, they are both every 2 weeks. And then Calling All Devs is actually semi-monthly, so it's every other month. Now, these different shows each focus on different things. So Inside Star Citizen is more like overall looking at the new features that are coming. They invite devs on to talk about the features that they're working on. So they might be talking about the new planetary tech. They might be talking about the new flight model. They might be talking about the new weapons that are coming. They might be talking about you know, how fire is going to spread. They talk about all these different things that are coming in the future. So that's their, like, that's similar to what all these other game studios do in terms of talking about what's coming, right? But then you have Calling All Devs and Star Citizen Live. Those are different. Star Citizen Live is kind of similar to what these other studios do. For example, Warframe, what they do with their live show. But the difference is, for example, Warframe's dev streams, they talk about everything. They talk about what's going on in the game, what's coming up, what they've been working on, but they also touch on, like, community stuff. Like, they talk about, you know, contests that they're doing. They talk about art that people submitted. They talk about all that stuff that nobody cares about. And not only that, but they also shy away from difficult questions. But with Star Citizen's live show, Star Citizen Live, they track questions very well, and they do not shy away from hard questions. For example, you could check the most recent Star Citizen Live, where they talk about, well, they're actually going through how scopes are created and how like different attachments for weapons are created for first-person shooter weapons. And during this live stream, somebody commented talking about how, oh, this is the reason why the game is so buggy, because, you know, they're focused on working on these aspects and not, you know, not the bugs that are happening in the game. And Jared Huckabee, which is he's actually the community leader. I think he's his title is Associate Creative Producer. So he's the one who manages all of these shows that are being produced. And Jacob takes the question and faces it head on.
Oh, he said, this is why the game isn't out, because they are making stupid stuff like this instead of actually working on game-breaking problems. Actually, that's why I just discussed the difference between content teams and feature teams, Aaron Blade. The feature teams are the teams that work on fixing bugs and stuff like that, and they are not here today. They are, in fact, working on the game. The content team, who makes things like helmets and weapon sights, would not be very useful going through and fixing game-breaking bugs. So they could be with us here today.
He breaks it down for the person so that they understand what is going on. They have two different teams, one that's focused on making sure the game is bug free, working on bugs and, you know, doing these different aspects of development. And then they also have a team that's focused on creating new features. They have a team that's focused on, you know, producing new content. And that's the way that it should be. Most game development studios follow that same practice, but people don't know that. And that's the problem. The communication of how games are developed is lackluster. And Star Citizen is showing people and explaining to people what is going on behind the scenes so that they have a better understanding of what the timeline of things should be and why things are buggy and what different aspects of development these new features are going to touch on, and like why it's important to hold off on a feature or why they couldn't release something. Like, they explain things to the team. Some of these devs, for example, Richard Tyrer, he goes into incredible detail on the aspects of development that he focuses on. He is the core gameplay director. I'll leave a link to one of his Star Citizen calling all devs. He goes into detail on every little thing, everything that something could be touching, like a new feature that he's working on. Like what could this possibly affect? This man talks about every possibility of what this new feature can affect and why it's important to roll it out the way that they're doing and what exactly needs to be done first in order to get this thing out and to the hands of the people. He goes into so much detail. It's insane, and it's so respectable because it gives people a better understanding of what's going on in game development. That's something different. That's something that you don't see every day. Another aspect that this game development studio does different from all the others is they give each section of their studio a moment to shine so that they can actually explain their process. What do I mean by that? I mean every single aspect of their company. Shows where they talk about how these shows are produced. They've had shows where they talk about how the lore is produced, and like literally hour-long segments where the people who write the lore and write the content of the game talk about how they go through their process and how it's difficult to do and what they actually have to think about in order to make it make sense. They've had segments where they talk about art. They've had segments where they talk about programming. They've had segments where they talk about design. They've had aspects where they talk about gameplay features. They've had shows where they talk about like literally modeling. They've had so many different shows, and not only that, but some shows they actually show the game development process live. What do I mean by that? I mean they actually go into their editors, Maya, Lumberyard, their actual game engine. They go into these different softwares and show the process of actually creating something, whether it's animation, modeling, or whatever, art. They actually show you the process and show you how difficult it is or how easy it is to do certain things so that you, as a viewer, have a better understanding of what's going on, of how everything comes into fruition, how all these different pieces fit together. Now, there's a caveat to this. There is a problem because sometimes they get a little bit technical, and that's not really that great for people who don't understand that aspect of development. So it makes it kind of difficult for them to really get a grasp of what what the development process is like.
A noisy edge.
Part that is on the I code. Then there is this coupling of these two objects, that is the character and the share. There's the streaming code that can happen at different times. When the environment streams out, when you are part of the share right now, you're also part of the aggregate of the environment.
So this smoothing area here has a noise function applied to its radius. Now it does this in steps.
The attached objects should first stream out.
And then we can score and clean the rivers.
That is like usually the character, then the environment streams out, and then when we streams in, the environment streams in, and then the character streams in as well, and he knows that he should be attached to the share, and then the kind of request gets propagated to the different components of the character, and then the component decides to reattach it and put it in the right state.
When I downloaded the TPF file, I was able to extract the source code and generate an outpost based on blacklisted Hellmod players.
English, please.
And I actually have a series that I want to make where I kind of just talk about, I talk about what they talk about and kind of dumb it down or put it in layman's terms for you guys. If you guys like that or if you guys want to see that, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to do it. That kind of makes it a little bit inaccessible to some people. Some shows are better than others, and some people are better than others in terms of like actually explaining things, but overall it could get a little bit technical. So if you're not in the realm of development of any facet, then you may get a little bit lost in some of the terms that they use. But they try their best, and they really do explain the whole process as best as they can. And that's commendable at the end of the day. These other game development studios, they just need to take notes. They need to take a look at what Star Citizen is doing. They need to take a look at what CIG is doing and implement it in their own studios. But it is a little bit difficult because this, like all this content, is actually funded by the community. People can spend money on, it's a subscription service. It's like $10 a month or something like that. It's either $10 a month or $20 a month. And those people actually get a bunch of content. They get in-game content. They also get literature that other people don't get. They get their own area inside of the like the forums. And they get a bunch of different perks, right? But additionally, the money that they spend on this subscription service is put into this. Is put into their content. It's put into their communication, which is huge. That's something different that most other game development studios aren't doing. Now, this is very unique because this game was completely funded by the community, or mostly funded by the community, but it's still pretty cool to see. So overall, this game development studio, they've been doing an incredible job in terms of communicating. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Have you guys been following Star Citizen? Have you guys been like seeing the content that they put out? Have you been liking it? If you haven't been following it, will you now? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you guys enjoyed the video, please go ahead and leave a like. It would really help out the channel and also help out the video. Get more eyes on this because I think more people need to understand how great this game development studio is in terms of communicating. If you guys are new here or you're binge watching the content, because I know there are some of you out there, go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button. I would really, really appreciate it. That concludes the video. I'll see you guys in the comments. Peace.